Cool. We should be going live here. Let's get a quick double check. Test the audio real quick. Testing 1 2 3 1 2 3. All right. That is reasonable. Mute you. Move to chat over here. And I've got a big old preview here. Well, welcome to Better Done Right and Fimorth on Twitch. Today I am dual streaming to my YouTube and to my Twitch to get a little bit better hang of the process. And I want to introduce you to some boxes that arrived today and what's primarily contained within those boxes. I went ahead and ordered a few quality of life things for the setup here in the project room, and also an audio related product that I'm very, very excited to look at. A friend of mine recently purchased one based on my recommendation, and they do like it. And I guess I wanted to put my money where my mouth was, because I have a very similar version to what they ordered, and now I have one. And we're going to set that up. I'm also hoping to swap microphones potentially because of that. So there's a few different things that we're taking a peek at here. Alrighty, taking a look through here. I think we're doing all right. And why don't we just get started? So there are 4 boxes. With keyboard. We've got this box here. And if I get my view up, we should be able to do a top-down view. So we got this. I'm going to scoot my mic real quick. And we'll try to stay in a healthy audio range here. So this box, I have no idea what's in here. Honestly, I barely even remembered what I ordered. Sad to say. But it is here. I've had a long few days, actually. I had a good streak going, streaming. And that all ended when I started. I picked up some extra shifts, so I've been doing that for the last 3 days. So I'm a little bit worn out and ready to, I guess, indulge a little bit. So we've got the box here, and contained in the box is other the boxes. Right here, ooh, this might be one of the more exciting things, even though it's a little bit of a weird item. So this obviously is the Oculus Quest 2 USB Type-C cable. And I already own one of these. And I do have a headset, but I don't use it. So why buy another one? Wouldn't one be enough? Well, this cable, I have a pretty convinced hunch that this is the most affordable USB cable for its speed and for its length. I believe this is 16 feet or 5 meters. It is a USB Type-C 3.2, Gen 3.2, and it does 10 gigabits a second. Any other cable I seem to find is either much longer and in the hundreds of dollars, also fiber optic, or much shorter, much thicker, not fiber optic, and like a Gen 1 speed, which is like a 5 gigabit a second speed. This is absolutely incredible as a tool. I have one upstairs, and it's permanently plugged into the back of my PC. The other end, there's a coil mixed in there somewhere, but the other end is on my desk, and I use it for fast file transfers. When I had my Sigma FP camera, that camera shoots really, really high data rates when it shoots video. I would have these external SSDs, and I would just come sit down at the table and just plug it into this cable, and it was about as fast as it could get on a file transfer. I could have external NVMe drives in like a drive caddy, and you could plug them into this, and it would run as fast as this cable could possibly handle, which is quite fast. The one oddity is that there is a right angle connector on the one side, and I kind of just plug it on different sides depending on kind of how I'm feeling, but the right angle side I think goes into the headset typically. So these are about $80. They have not come down in price like I had hoped, but I buy cables on the regular, like this bad boy. This is a Condor Blue USB Type-C Gen 3.2 10 gigabit cable. It is maybe 8 inches long, and I think it was like $14 or $15. Could even be $20. So since I'm okay buying cables like this, the $80 cable was kind of a no-brainer, because you get, I don't even know how many times more. I mean, you get 16 feet and not even a foot here. So more than 16 times the length. And I have many short, high-speed, high-quality USB-C cables for camera rigging to route data and power. So it's just kind of my thing. Oh, why? It's a cool cable, but why did I buy it? This will be the tether for the camera, which is acting as a webcam. I currently have it plugged in with just like a phone charging cable, and it happens to have enough data rate to support a 6K 30 FPS stream. So this will be more than enough, and as long as I take care not to roll over the cable, I should be okay to kind of run it around. This is an intermediate. This is like a stopgap purchase. This cable will let me use my existing hardware in one of the ways it's meant to. But let's say I want to move to HDMI exports from the camera to maybe a switcher, then back to the PC with a capture card, then this almost becomes irrelevant. So in that context, it's still a really good USB-C cable that I can just keep around long term. I have had my plug, I think it was the right angle side, possibly, I can't remember 100%, but with my phone and with that plug specifically, they stopped working together entirely, but they would work independently with other plugs and other phones and such. So my way around that is I've purchased yet again another short, expensive USB-C cable, but it is a female to male, an in to an out, and that lets me permanently plug one end, probably off camera here, that lets me permanently plug one end and then cycle on another plug, so that just in case that wears out, I'm just replacing a shorter, cheaper cable. I've also gotten some right angle adapters and things to do that, perform that same function, and those are actually really easy to get. They're just a few bucks, and they are kind of kick-ass. I think they're even Thunderbolt speeds. I wish wish it made sense for me to do an upgrade to Thunderbolt stuff, since I absolutely adore high-speed data. But this is one exciting product. This, I'll show you the box, is a shock mount for a microphone. I originally got a very similar one to this when I bought a Maono microphone. That was my first foray away from a USB-based microphone and towards XLR. And it was actually really impressive. I still have that microphone because it is so impressive. And it doesn't have much resale value, so I'm not going to bother selling it. So I will keep it around for comparisons, but the shock mount was really impressive. It's a very basic shock mount. This was purchased from Array. If I can get... I probably can't get that to focus. I can. Fantastic. Can I get you to focus? Probably not. Not with my face in frame. There we go. Not that there's any light for you to be able to see, but yes, we have a microphone shock mount. This is a clamping style, like so. It has the smallest and then the medium size, not the biggest size of threading. I think the smallest might be 3/8. I don't know if it's how it scales up from there. A little bit less familiar on some of this audio equipment, but this was like $14 or $15, I believe. And it works on my main microphone, and my main microphone has a shock mount that you can purchase for it, but I believe it's $100 to $200. It's like well beyond reasonable for a shock mount, and it's enormous, like fucking ridiculous. Like the metal bits that stick out on it are ridiculous. Let me pull this up. So, okay, there is one version here. That is a craptastic photo, but I will show it to you. So this has a yoke design, which is interesting. You'd have to top mount it, hang it from the top, basically. And then the actual mount portion, it clamps way back here. But there are these really long, spindly, spidery legs with all this webbing. It's ridiculous. I don't understand if it's just like a statement, if you're just trying to show off how big your shock mount is. But I have basically this, as far as I can tell, this is a product that is continuously rebranded. I forget what those are, just like a generic product that keeps being relabeled. And it seems to be fairly high quality, and it fits the RE20. I even got a slightly larger version. The smaller version of this, which I think goes up to like 43 millimeters, barely squeezes on there, but it does. And then this is like 48 to 52 or something millimeters. And the RE20, I measure it around 49, I believe. So this will let me have a separate mic mounting point. Like I have a mic stand here, so I can hold my RE20. Because I have a Rode T1, my kind of middle microphone, and that is has its own shock mount where it actually like threads to the bottom of the microphone. So that was box number 1. Let's that's 2 boxes down from inside of the other box. let's take a look here at what else we have. It's not a very sharp knife. Oh, we have multiple things. Okay, I'm not quite sure what that is. This is a DisplayPort to HDMI cable. Very simple, very generic. This is like even the generic brand. I think it's Pearstone, if I am getting that correct. Yes, it is. You know, reputable, basic, affordable is all it is. And I've been on this kick lately where I look at a product. I'm like, oh, this would solve my problem. And then instead of just getting it, I've actually been doing more research, which you should always do. There's almost always a better option. And the first thing I was looking at was a DisplayPort to HDMI adapter. Because I have HDMI to HDMI cables, I figured that would probably be the easiest way to handle that problem. Well, they just about cost the same. And I imagine an adapter, it would add a little bit more complexity and potentially latency. Not that that's a big deal, but I do have a slightly higher refresh rate monitor to the side that I wouldn't mind running at a higher speed, though I don't think HDMI for this particular generation is going to run that terribly fast. I think it needs to be DVI-D for that to happen. But it made sense. Buy a cable that is specifically capable of converting between those two. And if you aren't super familiar, these are the two plug shapes that you would be dealing with. On your left is DisplayPort, on your right is HDMI. Alright, I am actually going to go behind the camera here and plug this in because I don't have a secondary monitor until I get this all set up. Perhaps I could even move the old webcam to its other position. Eventually, I guess the hope is all of that will be permanently set up with webcams that I can just switch between. So now you can get a pretty interesting perspective as I struggle behind this camera here. So I think the main trick is going to be actually plugging this blindly into the GPU. I completely nailed that. Alright. Winning. Alright, that is a good feeling plug. It did not feel sloppy, so I'm pretty happy with the quality of that. Okay, now I have an additional display over here, and I can throw my browser up there, and now we can get a good one. Hi, Gorilla. How are you? Yes, you see me. Let me, you see chat now, too, because I moved the camera. Let me, do a slick transition here. And then you can... I guess the problem... There's no illusions here. Because I have cameras pointing both directions, I can't really hide. I have no blank scene set up on the stream PC. But actually, why don't I give you a tour? We are streaming from the Retro PC. So let's swap to the top-down cam. So this is that one, which I'm pretty sure you've gotten to see. I'm sure I've given you the tour. But yep, it's all built. It's running. We're streaming at 30 FPS. And it's using about 50% of the GPU. Or, sorry, CPU. and we're dual streaming. So we have a YouTube stream going out at 40 megabits a second. Much, much higher quality than Twitch. And I should be able to download that and edit that with a little bit higher quality. And then I'm also going to try to figure out the setting up a local recording as well that could be much higher quality too, as I get the cameras set up to do this properly. Yes, the floppy disk. So I didn't set this up properly, but I do have a DVD drive behind there, and it does push open the door. I haven't used a DVD drive in so long. I don't remember how to eject it. I might have to download an old piece of software or something to get the eject button. But if I ever set up redeems and things on the Twitch side, that's probably gonna definitely be one is a floppy disk eject or something. There'll be a whole thing there. But yeah, there's another floppy door, and that one just isn't sprung. It just pops open and clips the top. But you get Type C, 2 3.0 Type A's, and then your headphone jack as well. So the internals, they are a Intel i7 9700K stock. We have 16 or 32 gigs of RAM. I don't quite remember. I will point you at the vent there. Let me see. I think the easier way is Control-Shift-Escape. It's an old gaming desktop, so it is 32 gigs of RAM. And then it has an NVIDIA RTX 2080 in there as well. So it was respectable in its time. Nowadays, that doesn't keep up. But I figure as a streaming rig, that's quite plenty. And then probably when Zen 6 comes out, I will upgrade my main rig. It'll be time, I think, then. It's the following generation CPU that's half the cores is about 20, either matches it, core to core, let's say, full performance versus full performance. And then in single core, it's about 20% faster. And we have another generation which introduced the X3D cache, which helps a lot with gaming. And then now we also have another generation coming, which would be Zen 6, I believe. So probably be a socket refresh. And typically when they do that, they integrate a lot of new features. So that'll be probably the big budget build. And hopefully by then there'll be some affordable GPUs, but that never seems to happen. But yeah, it's an old friend, old PC from a friend. He was asking around if somebody wanted to buy it, and I asked how much he wanted, and he gave a really good price, and I was like, I'll just take it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I'll take it. So it lived as a server computer for a little while. And the PC that I've been building on stream for the last little while here has been a spare parts PC that's even lower spec. That is going to be the new server PC. So I have a Valheim server that I keep up from time to time when I'm feeling it. And then we've had some Minecraft servers with friends. And then some friends have been able to set up whatever kind of server they want just permanently. So we have a dedicated server and things like that. But it should be a little bit cheaper to run. It's lower end hardware, and servers are typically single core, I believe. So it didn't make sense to have an 8-core CPU, and yeah, lots and lots of reasons. Okay, so we have another thing here. You'll be familiar with these, I'm sure, Lydia. let me swap to the proper cam. So Camvate is a more budget brand, but I'm hoping this does actually fit pretty well. Yes, Valheim. I'm excited to play with you again as well. That'll be a good time. Have you gotten to play any more? Maybe single player or anything on your own? So let's take a look at this. This is an Arca Swiss quick release plate. And the characteristic of an Arca Swiss is it usually has the knob on the side, and you just thread the plate out and it will loosen so you can adjust it. And then there's typically a release, which it catches, which is pretty standard. I think, okay, so that's just these bolts, these little M3 screws or something. Those catch in these channels. So as long as you have enough tension that the dovetail can't fall out, then you should be able to completely retain this. But what's really exciting about this, if I had a good demo, this is meant for the camera that is streaming at the moment. Yes, you've been so busy, so unfortunately not. Yeah, I get that. That's been my last 3 days. Been working a bunch. So this, hopefully, the nice thing about Arca Swiss too, it's very adjustable. So you could have brand-to-brand variation in the dimensions across different parts, and it will probably still work. So even though this was a cheap brand, it should still work because it has a lot of adjustment. But the bottom of my camera, the camera half cage that's on there, is an Arca Swiss plate. It's a giant Arca Swiss plate. And I have an Arca Swiss mount on top of my base plate for my rails so that the camera can slide out, so I can steal my camera when I want to go shoot photos. This will let me throw this on a different tripod, maybe a different position, if I just want to take the camera without the rails and accessories. Right now it's set up with an autofocus lens. If I get my face out of here, it'll focus in. I only have 2 autofocus lenses out of a lot of other lenses, so there will be setups where it makes sense just to take it off, and this can be mounted to another tripod, and I can just slap it on that tripod, and I don't have to unscrew anything because the base plate with the rails is screwed into the Arca Swiss plate. The Arca Swiss plate is screwed into the cage. So if you can balance it all, then you can leverage these quick release plates, which is fantastic. By the way, cam colors look so good. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is the default color profile. I think this is just the standard color profile on a Lumix S5 IIX. So it's kind of like a little bit crunchy. It's maybe not quite the right word, but it's just a production ready look. It's not log or anything. I'm not trying to grade this or correct it after the fact. I think I technically could, but I'm not. I've had my time with raw and log images, and this whole live production experiment that I'm doing is meant to get me as far away from that as possible so that I don't slow myself down like I had been. Because my goodness, I had an issue with that camera, and I'm going to make a video about it because I was so frustrated. The camera, how much time do you have? I know it's, let's see, it would be, let me add 12 hours and then 2 hours because I can't math with 14 hours. So it'd be about 10:30 a.m. So it's morning for you, right? So breakfast time, you're making your butter and Vegemite toast, maybe a cup of tea. If you do have time, I will explain the Sigma FP nonsense that I had to deal with. But in the meantime, why don't we open up another box? And I'll be honest, I have kind of gotten tired. Okay, 12:30. So you're like more hours. Yeah, you're like 16 hours. I think. Wow. Okay, you have time. Fantastic. Let me open this real quick, and then I'll kind of do two things at once, which never happens. Oh, very, very cool. That's exciting. That would be really exciting. Like, if you could get to the point where you have like a decent following online to where you can go meet up fans that are just going to the same convention, that sounds like the most rewarding experience. But this knife is a little bit dull. I'm getting a little bit tired of it, so I'm going to grab this other one. I figure this will work a little bit better for opening this box. More or less. Actually, I think this is maybe the efficient way to do this, because you can cut both sides of the box all in one go. And if you get this just right, it's like just one plunge cut, and then you twist. That works pretty good. I should definitely open my mail with this. I think that would be an efficient use of my time. But I love that thing. Casually pulls out Excalibur. I went to a Renaissance. Sorry for the mic bump there. I went to a Renaissance festival that's local, and they had swords. And I really wanted a sword. I really wanted to buy a sword and have like this heavy weapon on my wall. That just seemed like the coolest thing. Yes, I do have a plaque that came with it. It's cheap, but it works. So you'd have the sword hanging on there. And it came with the leather sheath, which a button broke on already, but that's okay. And I found if you go on Etsy, you can find axes, knives, swords, things they're reasonably priced. Clearly, that is not handmade necessarily, even though it says it is. I would say it's probably mass-produced and then resold, but it hits the right points of it's heavy to hold and it's shiny. So, yes, it's from Etsy. I could try to find the actual link. I never really thought about someone asking that question, but yeah, if you browse Etsy, I don't know if Etsy's global though. I've never considered that. Etsy might just be no, it definitely is. It definitely is. We've been harassing one of our friends to put her crochet on Etsy. But let me get some of this fluff out here. So I've tried to be a little bit smarter lately. The authorities don't like it. You won't be able to get that. The authorities will not like it. You're just gonna have to make it. You're definitely qualified. You could take up blacksmithing. I'm pretty sure you could do that. There's room. There's room where you jump rope, put an anvil and a forge. You've got it. Or just do it in Valheim. You know, live your dream. Live your Viking dream. So the Sigma FP. There is a company, Red Digital. They recently were purchased, but Red Digital is a patent troll. They got hold of a patent, and America is to blame. We patent the stupidest things. We let people get the stupidest. Yes, okay, so you know Red. So they got a patent on internal RAW recording. So that meant no other cameras. Oh, sorry, that's internal compressed RAW. It's specific, obviously, but it's a big deal because you could do that with almost any camera, except they have a patent on it, and they don't want competition, so they don't let their competitors have it. So that was a big deal, but this camera, the Sigma FP, could shoot internal RAW because it was uncompressed RAW, to the tune of terabytes of data in a reasonable amount of shooting. So I think 1 terabyte at 4K 24 FPS would get you roughly an hour 45 of recording. And I bought one 2 terabyte Samsung T7. I bought a like a $20 NVMe drive caddy or enclosure, and a 2 terabyte NVMe SSD. And then I've also bought a 4 terabyte Crucial X10, which is like another step up in performance and yada yada yada. And I kept running into the issue. What I did a workaround at one point where I wasn't shooting at 30 FPS. I brought it down to 25 because that would match a different setting on my camera. It's weird to be an American shooting 25, especially filming lights and things. But I was kind of making it work for a while, until I realized that your frame rates really do need to match. They can't be off like they were. It was the jitteriness in my edits that I was seeing. So I tried to go back to 30 or 29.97, and it wouldn't stay recording. I tried the T7, I tried the NVMe E, I tried the X10. I have test footage in the form of kind of like a time lapse of just recording until it would stop. And all these different data rates, I tried cables, hard drives. I was systematic about it. And it was like a Saturday, and the whole Saturday, I was meant to be filming something else, and the whole Saturday went to testing hard drives, and I never got a usable result at the full performance that I was supposed to be able to get from that camera and the recommended drives. At least one of those was recommended. So I bit the bullet. It was sad. It was like one of those kind of emotional things. Like when I canceled my Premiere Pro membership because I made, what did I make at that time? I made like $10 an hour at that time, and I was paying $70 a month. I did not have the money for it. And I tried to cancel once, and they gave me like 2 or 3 months free, and then I couldn't afford it after that. So I had to cancel it. I think I cried because that was I've been trying to do YouTube for like 10 years. Since I was, I guess, I mean, that would be 18 at this point, but for a while. And to me, Premiere Pro was my way of following my dreams and my passion. And I thought editing was the way of doing that, which is why I have gotten so much more experience with editing, and I've left Adobe behind in every possible way except some, PDF viewer and some random little programs. But anything subscription based, I am very wary of. I do not appreciate software that is subscription based. I will pay significantly more to get a lifetime license if it's within reason. There are some programs that offer a lifetime license, and they're out of their mind. But yes, I have tried, and I use DaVinci Resolve. That is my main editor. I have a studio license. I've been editing in Resolve for maybe 2 to 3 years at this point, and I've gotten very serious about it in the last 6 to 8 months, I would say. About the time I found Kuroko. So that was February. I needed a project. So the Sigma FP got sold, I'm sad to say. And that was another tearjerker moment. Like, what am I doing? This was my dream. I was going to do so many different things with this. It was pushing me. It was giving me the opportunity to learn so many new things because it was a raw format and I could learn to grade it. There was no easy way around it. You had to learn node trees, color correction, shot matching, then grading, and making all that work. And I'm still learning, and I can use my B camera, which is an S5 IIX, like, I shouldn't be complaining at all. But I came to my senses. I could still sell that camera for something, a little more than half of what I bought it for, and I could reinvest that. So I bought a lot more lighting equipment. I do want the bougie stuff. I really do. I have too many hobbies, and I can work overtime if I want to, quite a bit. So that results in me working a bunch, burning out, and then spending all of the money. Yes, I do need to work my way up. What my current plan is, there's a Android app called Motion Cam. Don't burn out. I burn out all the time. It is. It's my industry. It's what it is. But I've been doing it for 5 years, so I'm used to my processes. I have lots of hobbies to pick me back up, so I'm all good. But there is an app called Motion Cam, and it's only compatible with certain phones. I think it's primarily Android, as far as I'm aware, if not exclusively Android. But it unlocks the sensor in a way, like it bypasses all of the processing that cameras typically do, and it lets you record internal uncompressed RAW with a phone. It's very popular on the Pixel series, Google Pixel series of phones, because those have a nice image already. You can use it for photos. You can use it for video. I think it's like $20 for the app, which is a lot for an app, but for what it allows you to do with a phone is absolutely incredible. There are people that are using budget phones, like $500-$600 kind of mid-tier phones that are unlocked in the way to allow the sensor data to go out, and they're filming movies, like little short scenes, but they could film movies with a phone in 8K uncompressed. I believe it's it might be a little bit compressed, but it's like very, 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 very high quality RAW, which you can grade, color grade. You can recover highlights, shadows. Like, you can do so much more with that much data. So I have all of these hard drives, some degree of knowledge for a Cinema DNG workflow, which is the format that they shoot, and I have a phone that's okay, mid-range, but I'm thinking I will buy this other mid-range phone that's capable of doing this. That will become my B cam, but it'll still let me kind of dip my feet into the raw processing world so that I don't buy the more bougie gear. I'm sure that's going to happen eventually, though, but I have to have a really, really good justification. You asked what industry I work in. I'm a journeyman lineman, which, if you're not familiar with that that's totally fine. We build and maintain the electrical grid. So overhead wires, underground wires, put things back when they break, turn things on and off to give customers access to work on whatever they need. So it's an outdoor job. It's physical, works with electricity, but it is very rewarding. Very rewarding. Your next purchase is probably an OpenGate camera for streaming, but not till I'm like making vids and clips on YouTube, TikTok. Yeah. So this is OpenGate. This scene here. So that, I think, is 4:3, if I'm recalling correctly. So it's full sensor output. I think the sensor... Shala! Welcome in. I'm super nerding out right now about cameras with Gorilla. So, fair warning. Fair warning. It's large format. So full frame is VistaVision in the cinema world. Super 35 is like your APS-C. Crop sensor. I've had a Micro Four Thirds. I've had 2 Micro Four Thirds cameras and lenses. So I've learned a lot about the crop factors and things. One of my projects, and that's why I've bought a dirty camera lens, is to learn how to clean lenses, and then hopefully buy a vintage large format lens, and then I'm going to make a projector box that projects the large format image onto a canvas. And then I have purchased a tilt shift lens so I can have my S5 IIX off axis looking at the canvas, but then correct it optically so I don't have to worry about it digitally. And I can have a large format movie camera, basically. That's probably one of my initial projects going forward here. I'm going to do 3D printing. I'll get my laser engraver set up. I'm going to try to use those, not because they're going to be like the 1000% the best tools, but just to kind of show everybody with consumer tools you can do quite a lot. You don't have to buy everything. If you have a little bit of time, you can make stuff. So yeah, there's some cool You're a badass. I'm not badass. I don't jump rope. I don't shoot bows or know any sorts of martial arts, because you do nunchucks, right? I think I've heard. Shala, what we're doing otherwise is opening up some boxes that I have recently acquired. Muay Thai. Fantastic. I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with its specific discipline. How is that? I've taken Aikido before, which what I understand from that is it was essentially a sword fighting technique that got adapted, and then it's like purely defensive in its pure form. Okay, Thai kickboxing. Damn. Scary. Okay. I'm going to keep that in mind. I can't be on your bad side. And I also have to be careful if I ever meet up at TwitchCon or something. I'll be scared. Alright, let's swap cameras here. Okay, we have another box. Oh, so I've been smart lately. The Sigma FP got me going on it. I sold that, and I was like, okay, I'm selling a used camera. What if I look at used gear? And I got lucky. The overhead light and the other one's in a box, but I got 2 pair of lights that ended up being almost a steal for what they were, but they're quite a good upgrade, and I just happened to catch them at the right time. I think they would have been snapped up. But if you're looking for upgrades, buy used lenses, buy used camera bodies. The good light fixtures are typically held onto and used, so you may not get the best light fixtures, but I got really lucky with that one. I think maybe someone bought them thinking they were going to be strong enough, then they weren't. But yeah, look at used stuff for sure. For sure. I'll be fine. You're so new. You're not lethal yet. I don't know. I'm still not going to cross you. You fear you're not cool enough for this chat. I'm sitting here with my weather obsession and severe case of ADHD. That's awesome. Oh, that's cool. So I was talking about my job a little bit with Gorilla. Okay, I'll catch you back in a minute. Shala, I'll catch you back in a minute. All right, let's open up this box. I do not remember what I got. Oh, sweet! It's like Christmas. I'm surprising myself. I ordered these like Monday, so I don't know what my problem is. This is a light pull grip. You would unscrew this all the way, drop your washer, and then you can equip this to one pull on a light stand, and then you can slap this other one on there, and you could even throw another light stand and use it as a boom pole. But if you had a boom pole, you could throw that in there, and then you can rig an overhead light, or hold a modifier out, hold a microphone even. It's just a rigging tool, a grip tool. And this was used, but it looks brand new. The tricky thing with these is if you ever adjust it, you want it loose, like loose, like this loose. If you have it a little bit and it slips, you actually shear the teeth just a little bit, and it may not grip the same the next time. I used to work as a bicycle mechanic, and actually all seat posts have this, but seat posts have teeth that hold the rails of the saddle, and it lets you adjust the tilt. And so many times that bolt gets loose on its own, and then the rider sits on the nose of the saddle, and it slips, and it shears those teeth. It's like a soft steel on the cheap ones, or a soft aluminum on the high-end ones. So we were always, when we would install it, we'd check the teeth, and then we would really, really, really wrench down the screws. Probably well out of spec, but we worked at a used shop, so it was you really had to take care of things as much as you could. I don't use DxOMark as a go-to guide. I'm aware of it, and I really respect the testing they do, but I think I just haven't needed it yet. I've kind of just singled out like really unique cameras, or just bought so much out of my capability threshold that I knew it was going to be fine. But yeah, I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it. You did say you were looking for an open gate camera, or was it webcam? Open gate camera for streaming. Okay, so you want the non-widescreen look. You want the 4:3, the 3:2 aspect ratio. I respect it. That's a cool place to use it. That's a lot of what is exciting. Part of the reason I'm streaming is I get to play with that stuff because I have a camera that can shoot open gate. I can feasibly make a large format projector and use that as a webcam, and it's like, how can you borrow these weird and esoteric cameras and then put them in a live production? That would be super cool. There's a lot of things there that interest me, but that's cool. That format would be super useful for you, just for framing. But if you are gonna, I guess it's a Luma key. I'm still learning my terms for that. Another chroma key with a green screen. I'm assuming the Luma is just light based, luminance values. But would OpenGate help you there? Like, are you trying to get more verticality? Can you just roll portrait and back up a tiny bit? I guess I'm also a proponent of use the gear you have, because I don't, in a way. Like, I have things that I could use. I could use my phone, but I'm not, because I guess it's fun. I like to tech out and nerd out. Okay, 2 more boxes. And I don't know which one's more exciting, but we're going to go to the next sized box, which is bigger. Yeah, not really needed in the broader scheme of things with the OpenGate. It depends too, though, because maybe you're getting other features. I've been telling Shala and Han not to buy an upgraded webcam, because I'm going to make a video about webcams. I guess the brief rundown is, my theory is, if you have good enough lighting, you can control a shitty webcam, like in terms of frame rate. You can dial the frame rate in. Let me see. So right now, the motion on the top-down view, that's a Logitech 1080p webcam. The motion is really choppy, and it's 30 FPS. But if you had 60 FPS, it would look better. But you could also just have a slower shutter speed. So looking at this other camera, the big cam, the motion is blurred closer to the 180 degree roll. So the motion looks okay, even though the frame rate is slower. So my thought is, if you can't control the shutter speed of an automatic, like of a fully auto webcam, what if you instead invested in even just one light that you can really finely control, and then maybe a modifier so you can get smooth lighting or whatever, and then you can dial in the shutter speed just based on your light exposure. It will auto expose to that. That's the thought, at least. On top of that, there's and I think I've talked to you about this maybe already, Droid Cam, the app, where you can use a phone as a webcam. I have some old phones that I'm going to test that out with, but the video will probably be a comparison of what's a budget webcam, what's it capable of, what's a high-end webcam, and I'll probably get something, maybe the Elgato 4K that does look like they really tried with that one. There's also the OBSBot Tiny 2, which is a PTZ cam, or even the fully fledged OBSBot. I mean, depending on how much overtime it'll work for this. But I think that could be really interesting to compare kind of how much can you get out of a cheap webcam, and are people leaving performance on the table? What can you do with an old phone? What's that workflow look like? Does it beat other things? Then what's a high-end webcam, something that's well known to be good? And then compare that to this camera, S5 IIX, which is going to be like your, as good as it gets, probably. But I might also reach out to KG, to Kuroku, and get some input from him, because he has a Sony mirrorless crop sensor, and he uses a HDMI to USB conversion, a cam link, to be able to do that. And that's a different workflow, because you can buy yourself into a mirrorless camera that has Type-C that lets you use it as a webcam. My Sigma FP did that, and this camera does that. But that's a hard feature to find, honestly. And you have to really spend, because it has to be modern, and it has to be in a certain price bracket for them to give you that feature, as far as I understand. So, if somebody's looking, it's a video. It'll be a video. The thing is to do it before everybody buys Elgato 4K cams, because I'm convinced that we can get very usable images from what we have if we instead look at lighting as our main investment. Because this, what is this? Probably $300 or $400 ish of lights, like just overhead, and that would probably be your like bare minimum. But that's like, it's mid-range equipment too. You could make do. And the other side of that, depending on how, I don't know if I want the video to get that into the weeds, but maybe it's separate, but what can you set up and get started that boosts the appearance, but you don't have the fancy tools yet? Like just shooting a light bulb with some tape on it to direct the light into a bed sheet. Like, can you have a super, super budget version that if you set it up at your desk, you don't have to touch it, and it works for like $20. Yeah, there's a lot to explore there. Absolutely. I don't think it's going to happen before anybody wants to really buy another camera. I have trouble getting to these projects a lot of times, and that's partly because this studio's not set up. Once the studio's set up and I have a space to film, that'll be a lot easier, and we've made huge strides on that in this last week. We went from cluttered as fuck room to I can mostly walk around, and now we have a giant desk, we have a TV to preview from, now we have a secondary monitor as of today that's functioning, we have a PC built that is not thermal throttling, it's cooking away, sending out 2 streams. Like, we have made some progress. I've figured out OBS a little bit. I figured out multi-streaming. We've got audio going. We've got the webcam. That took like 3 hours to set that webcam up. It did not need to, but I messed up. I didn't realize I had a setting. But yeah. Let's open this other box. I figured. Sorry for the hit on that camera. I figured we'd open another box from both sides here. Oh yeah. These boxes don't stand a chance. That's efficiency. That's what I call efficiency. I gotta figure out a better way to do this, because I feel like I'm gonna start tearing things up. Swinging this thing around, I'm gonna end up like scratching a screen or something. But taking a look in here, what do we have? How exciting is this? We have audio equipment. This right here. This is an analog channel strip. This gives you live processing on your vocals. You need an isopropyl alcohol to clean the stickiness off the blad. Maybe that's slang. Maybe it's a typo. I'm not sure what blad is. Blade. Oh, yeah. That is true. I do have some. I don't think it'll react with the steel like fingerprints will. So it's probably okay for a little bit. But that's very true. The blad. I should have been able to read that. What am I going on about? So this is the Ultra Voice UV1. It's an analog channel strip. And a channel strip is many things. It performs many live audio processing functions. And this bad boy, if it holds up to its claims, is not only $100 or more cheaper than my other channel strip, but it also has more features. And I'll get to why those features are so incredibly important. So my current setup upstairs is a DBX286S, which is just a popular entry-level analog channel strip. That goes into a Universal Audio Volt 176 USB audio interface. And that has a compressor on it, but it also has a vintage compressor, which gives a little bit of warmth to the sound. And that combination between the DBX 286S and the Ultra Voice, not the Ultra Voice, that's what this is, the Universal Audio, gives a really, really sound to my other primary microphone. They work together. There's some stuff that I'm kind of learning about what it actually is, what's actually going on to cause that. But it's absolutely wonderful. It was another bougie purchase for sure. And I sprung on the microphone that I ended up buying, and I got the channel strip. If I had just gotten the microphone, I would have been incredibly disappointed. I probably would have returned it because I still didn't understand how important the processing is of the audio to get the sound that I was going for. So it really worked out that I got both. It went from my budget of like $100, and we went well beyond that. And that's still budget hardware, except the microphone. The microphone's decently premium. But what we have going on here, and I'll compare it to the 286. This is smaller. The width is the same because this is a rack mount component, but the depth is much shorter, I believe. They could be roughly the same, actually. But when I first took it out of the box, I was kind of thinking it seemed less wide. So this has inputs on the back, USB power. We have, I'm trying to read this upside down. We have a line in 1/4-inch jack. We also have a line out, and we have a line out XLR. The DBX does not have, it has a combo jack, different from this. But we have our input on the front of the device. I believe the DBX is in the rear. So that's, maybe good, maybe bad. But we have the same, we have a gain adjustment. We have in this case, a low cut filter. I don't know if the DBX has that. We have 48 volt phantom power, of course. We have a bypass, so we can disable everything that's going on here. But the real winners here is we have a compressor. We have a de-esser. We have EQ for low and high frequency. We have an expander / gate, so that's like a noise gate. We have our additional like makeup gain, and then we have monitoring. So this one device is cheaper than the DBX 286 by I think about $100. This device also plugs into my computer, so I don't need the universal audio anymore. And the universal audio on its own is like $200 to $300. So now this is like $400 cheaper than the setup that I have upstairs. This also has an on and off button. The DBX does not. It's a rack mount component. They're meant for like a studio. You boot it up and you do your recording, and then you're done for the day. But this has some more consumer-minded features. And if it performs as well, I will be absolutely thrilled, because this is so much cheaper than my current setup. This one product is what caused my recent shopping spree. I've been looking from time to time to see if it was in stock at the local store that I prefer to purchase from, and they had it. I bought it. I think this was Sunday or Monday. I received it today, Wednesday, and they are out of stock for the next 6 to 10 weeks. So I'm pretty sure this is the bee's knees as far as like affordable live audio processing. I always found the audio monitoring for stream via OBS extremely clunky. I have not figured out the preview or the live functions. I always have a 0 latency monitor for my audio, and then I will check how the stream sounds just to make sure levels are close to what I was thinking they should be. and that's all I do. If there was any kind of delay, I would die. I cannot function hearing a slight delay, like the Windows direct monitoring or whatever. But this has direct monitoring here, I believe. That is what that is. It should also give you computer audio. I'm fairly certain. So this is basically 2 devices in one for what I currently have upstairs. I don't know, they're talking big game about the preamp in this thing. They always do, but I don't know if it's going to drive my microphone. I have a dynamic microphone. They require a lot of boost to get the little bitty signal into a healthy range. It will, of course, work for the Rode NT1, my Maono mic, and something else that might be in the other box. So why don't we open another box before Lydia has to leave? Because that would be more fun than probably setting up the UV1. So we have one more big box to look at here. And I have no way of getting out of this room now without stepping on boxes. I've thrown everything behind me. I'm probably going to step on one of these air bladder things and shit my pants. I will probably shit my pants. Okay. Biggest box. I think for the grand finale, not that I haven't done this every single time, we need the sword. We need the sword for this. I'm going to have to add a audio effect. I'll ask you a question in a second here, Gorilla. I'd be curious to know your take. Yes, yes. Very nice. Gonna have to add a sword shing in post there. But I'm curious. I've been trying to think. So there's something some YouTubers do when they get popular enough to have a merch store. I've been curious what the margins would be to match what Twitch takes. So if it's 40% they take, can you use that 40% of that amount and have a product made that you sell at a reasonable price and have it shipped to somebody and break even? To basically, or maybe even less, because there's still a value add there. Can you sell merch instead of somebody subbing on Twitch and break even equivalently? And then can you offer, and I say merch, but I guess this is going somewhere else too, can you offer other things? Because everybody on Twitch has all of these amazing skill sets. There's artists, there's music, well, artist covers everybody, but there's all types of creative people on there. What if that was their platform? Obviously, people still want ads and stuff, or to get rid of ads. That's how they market it. But I'm curious if, in my case, what I was thinking is, I don't like generative AI for things that aren't tools. So I use it for in video editing to create a script, like a transcribe audio. I use it for certain editing functions in there, but I won't touch it to generate images. I won't touch it to generate, come up with words and ideas, and I won't touch it. Did I say music? I think I probably said music. No, I didn't say music. I said images. Okay. But I will use it for tools. I think that's fair. I don't think there's any ethical concerns there, because it's doing the mundane things for you. There's no human intellectual property for it to steal, potentially. I do get concerned with generated images, generated art. I understand when people use it, especially when they're getting started. But I have concerns about the ethics there. Like, can you really trust that they generated their content, trained the neural network, whatever, the language model, ethically? And probably not. It seems like they've been doing this much longer than we've been aware. It seems like almost like crypto mining, where all the hardware is already bought and being used for years and years. So I'm steering clear of it. So my thought is, can I make assets for people, and could those be sold as, like, if there was continuing development to it, like an asset pack? And my thought is Foley sounds. You've been to film school, you know that, but for anybody else, Foley is the when I cut this box open, Foley is when you go back and record higher quality versions or sounds to represent that. Like a gun cocking in a movie, I've seen is a door handle mechanism. It gets them the sound that they want, and they can control it in an environment. So my thought is, there's music. I don't make music. But maybe there's a way to get some people involved to make some kind of general music, but it's human made, not AI. And then there would be, it wouldn't be like Creative Commons, but when you purchase it, you get to use it on whatever platforms, as long as you don't represent it as your own work or something like that. This is all theory, kind of dreaming here, but there's that aspect of it. Also, there's Foley sounds. So whooshes, bass impacts, all the little things. This is mostly like from a video editing take that you can add. Or I guess if you had like a scene transition, you could add these things. And it would be it wouldn't be like a monthly subscription. It'd be like a one-time, like, hey, instead of subbing, this money doesn't go all the way to me. Can you potentially look at this asset pack? And if you want to purchase that, I get 100% of that, and then you get something in return, in addition to supporting the channel. So that's the idea. That's the kind of idea. I don't know if that perks any interest to you, like just the concept of it. But I wonder if that was the way for people to claw back that margin as small streamers, is by providing additional resources for like roughly equivalent costs. If I had a video platform to point people to where there's no ads, and I guess you'd have to have an account to be able to post things, bare minimum, but there was like better control over bots and things, that would be incredible, but that's incredibly expensive to do. There's no way that would ever happen. But it's tough because people want convenience, and you want to charge a premium for real Foley versus AI. It's true. AI is cheaper and more convenient. I think lifetime subs are the way to go. It sounds quite niche. It is super niche. It is absolutely super niche. It would be like, I would have to be like a popular editor for that to be useful to anybody. So I guess that's the other thing, is at one point, like if I'm making Foley for myself, like I kind of thought about you, because I'm like, I don't have a whip. I might have a jump rope, but like those are perfect things to make a whooshing sound. Obviously you can just release it for free. There's the YouTube library. There's all kinds of free sounds and things like that. But even if it was like, hey, if you sub, you now gain access to these assets or something. It's like, how can you add value to the experience that people have? Give them more than what Twitch is offering. in a way. So I guess that's how it kind of comes full circle. But let's look in this, the biggest of the boxes. We got a thing. We have pop filter. Oh, don't have the double cam going. Hang on. We have a pop filter. This is from 512 Audio. It's a mesh metal pop filter. I have it already on my microphone upstairs. It seems to work great. It's like $15. It's pretty kick-ass. We have a microphone. A very special and affordable microphone. This is... what's my brand here? Oh, another Behringer product. This is the ECM 8000 Ultra Linear Measurement Condenser Microphone. This is a test microphone. This is a piece of science equipment. It is a measurement microphone for setting up speakers. It has a linear frequency response. So it's like when they say studio headphones and it's like flat response, all of that is bullshit. Guarantee you it's all bullshit. Every single pair of headphones will not be flat. You can... there's software to compensate and get it more flat and to simulate things, but for like headphones, flat is like just a marketing term, and it doesn't, like, there's no set of speakers that you will ever listen to that are flat. If that makes sense. Like, mixing and referencing off a pair of speakers that has a little bit more bass in it is completely fine. You just learn to work with that. You have to learn sound anyway. You will learn to work with that. However, microphones can be designed to do that. Maybe there's headphones, IEMs, whatever, that are like really, really close to flat, but there's so many variables. And then somebody listens in a car. It's like, you can't control every scenario. You just need to learn how your headphones sound or whatever. But this is a flat microphone. It is used for setting up speakers. It is what listens to a speaker to figure out where it's not flat, because every speaker has its curves, its response curves and everything. But I'm guessing microphones are a lot better at being flat with their responses. So they're affordable. This is like $30-ish USD. This is a measurement tool that can be used. I keep pointing at it. This can be used to set up different audio equipment, but what I'm hoping is that it can be used as a stand-in standard microphone to compare to other microphones. Like, hey, this microphone sounds this way with this processing, these settings. What if we swap it out now, level adjust? What is now the standout difference? What is this microphone now doing? I don't know that I'm going to like do microphone reviews, but I would like to do videos on all of this misinformation that gets pushed around. Like, there's so many microphones that we listen to on podcasts, and we think it's the microphone, but the microphone's like 30% of it. It's the person's voice, it's their technique, and then it's the processing that happens live or in post that really, really gives it the spice. And I'm convinced, and this was reasonably affordable to attempt this as a proof, that you can make this flat, boring, linear reference microphone sound really, really good. At least I hope. All right, and then the last thing I'm out of room. I'm out of room, I'm going to put this down here. And we will just bring this box back. This is actually quite exciting. I didn't know they made products like this. And if it's any good, I will let you guys know, because it looks like it could be the bee's knees. This is a microphone stand. This is a desktop microphone stand. But it does something different. I have the Rode, is it PSA1? It's just your standard kind of like scissor boom arm. And it's long enough to work in the setup that I have it set up in. But it's a little bit in the way. So when I saw this, I got excited. That probably doesn't give you much of an idea. This is not a boom arm. It is individual linkages. And then it has like a computer monitor arm on the back. So it has like one section that lifts up far away from you, and then like two horizontal sections that just swing side to side. So the thought is you adjust the height away from you, and then it just kind of booms in from the side. Whereas the any scissor, oh god, I shouldn't have been so aggressive. Trying to get this out. Okay, everything's falling. This is a scissor arm. When this is mounted to a table, it has to come out to where you are. And in this case, this one's so short, this whole part gets in my way because this top part doesn't reach. So I had to get another one. This is also really, really low quality. Came with the Maona mic. I had to get a longer one so it could simply reach over a larger mouse pad and get to where it needed to go. The other part is clamps, the actual desk clamps. This guy has an enormous clamp. Look at that. Glorious, deep clamp. It has rubber both sides. A little bit surprised to see that on the bottom, but that's very nice. You don't see the bottom of your desk very often, but I certainly appreciate that. But the main thing is this angle piece of metal is very thick. It will not flex. And then there's depth here, but also this top plate is very thick. I don't think I have the other one to compare to. But on this like folding table that I'm set up on right now, the other mic arm, I would boom my microphone over and it would fall off the table because there's a slight edge and it's plasticky. This thing, guarantee you, won't do that. So I'm going to slide that on the table and just quickly verify that I'm not insane. So that's clamped down. I'm not gonna say that part out loud because that sounds really weird. But yeah, it took an absolute ton of force to pry that past the lip of the desk and get it to roll. The last one you could just like when it was fully clamped down, because as it tightened, because the metal was so thin on the other one, it would flex open and then it would pinch itself off. Man, everything I'm saying sounds lewd as hell. I did notice something else. There is an Allen key. I think this cam might be best. Right down deep in the hole there. That you can access from the back here. I'm pretty sure that is going to let me thread the base together so many times. The ones that like don't actually drill a hole in your desk, you can accidentally lift the whole thing out. So this I want to set up and then we work the whole process back. You know, assuming I have infinite time and not a bedtime because it's work day tomorrow. So we'll probably not get all the way to setting up the new mic, but there's always tomorrow, I guess. This feels really smooth. That's actually impressive. So it's held together. There's a pin that goes through like a tube, and then there's a set screw. So it's not like threaded. And looking at it, there might be like a notch in the metal on the inside, and this set screw kind of maybe rides inside of that. But this has a nice amount of dampening, and it does not have any play. So it feels really good. It's made, you know, this is metal where it counts, plastic where it's needed. And I'm impressed. So this is cast aluminum. Looking at this, so that's really nice, and then they've designed it well to have a really sturdy shape. So the ribs in here are going to give a lot of strength, unnecessary strength, absolutely unnecessary. It looks like we might have I don't know if this is a friction adjuster for the pivot here, or which exactly that all applies to. So you're saying this might look like the Elgato Wave. So this is probably a ripoff. This is newer. One of the off-brand companies that I like to buy a lot of products from, because they're usually, I mean, they might be half the cost. So why don't we get to setting this up real quick? In the accessory bag, we get 3 standard-sized Allen keys. That's nice to see. At least, you know, gives it more life as a tool later on. The really short ones are kind of annoying, so these are very standard. These actually, a lot of times the tools that come in bags are not all that impressive. The tools that come with products. So that's nice to see. We also have our various adapters to our different threaded sizes, so you will be completely taken care of there. Okay, so I think I was right. This component in here with this set screw probably matches this part here where there's a notch, and then the set screw sets inside of there, so it is fully maintained in there and it can't pull out. Okay, I need to thread the base in, and I am not one for instructions most of the time, so it looks like that goes together there. The base will go in there, so perhaps that screw in there. I'm not actually seeing anything threaded in the base here, but I do see another set screw to the side, so I think that screw may just hold this tube. I'm going to call it a tube. I should know better. I should know my 3D printing, from 3D printing, all my manufacturing terms. But let's set this screw. I'm going to set it really tight. Okay, so that it interfaces with maybe a piece of plastic, Delrin, whatever, something that's made to kind of, you know, nylon or whatever. It's made for it. So you can tighten them quite a bit, and they will not go metal on metal. So there's like an interface material there, which is really good to see. Okay, you're going to head out, Gorilla. Have a great rest of the stream. Thank you so much. Have fun with your friend. Super exciting that you get to go to the convention tomorrow. Really excited for you. Have an absolute blast. We're going to keep setting this up. So to me, I'm just seeing we slot the bottom there. Another set screw. This is where I'm appreciating they've given you the standard length tools. You have more leverage. You also have more reach on the other side. So we will tighten this. I'm not going crazy. I don't want to actually punch through the plastic here. I do want to just firm with that. That feels really good. God damn. So this is upside down to what I thought it was going to be. I thought this would be the monitor type arm would be at the bottom, and then we would have the rest mounted up on that. So that is interesting. I don't know how that's going to play in with my particular use case upstairs. I am considering this as a replacement. Everything here, you know, that comes through on this desk could potentially go into the main rig upstairs. Can it win? Can it replace my other stuff? So looking at this here, I am curious about it. I'm not like, because I thought it was built the other way. I didn't, I clearly clicked by and didn't look at the photos, I guess. Clearly on the photo is constructed that way. They described it as a pneumatic spring microphone counterbalance arm mount. Love naming schemes from third-party brands. But taking a look at this now, why don't I move some things out of the main cam's view and out of the top cam's view. Put that in the trash can. So, for this desk, this is going to work. This is going to be exceptional. It's the opposite of this. For this to reach the same positions, the shape comes up and out, and this shape comes out then up. It's the complete opposite. And typically upstairs when I'm looking at the scissor arm, I'm kind of looking through it because it's getting in my way. Like I can't quite see like the clock, or if I'm video editing, I can't see my mixing levels very well. So I'm kind of like doing one of these to like, and it's my own fault. Like I set it up that way. But it's a little bit frustrating. And if this can solve that for me, that is very intriguing. It does collapse quite small, which I believe you can see over there, because it folds up. I haven't gotten this. Okay. So it's not a spring, it's pneumatic. So it has a lot of friction in it, and then it has counterbalance, so you can position it, and it will stay. Oh, it goes up really easily. That makes sense because you're going to apply weight to it. It goes really far down. My goodness, this packs. Wow. Okay. There are some adjustments. So you have an adjustment here, which is what these larger Allen keys are going to be for. I'm assuming this interacts with the gas pneumatic portion. This top one specifically says do not screw out. I hope it's standard threads, like right hand thread. It's very loose at the moment. So I'm wondering if that is this rotation here. And that's all that is. And it may be that if you did screw it all the way out, something would, I don't think it would like decompress, like shoot across the room situation. But maybe something would come apart that's not supposed to. It really just looks like it's a clamp. So looking at this some more, I don't know why the components up here seem so stiff. I think it's just purely friction at this point on this whole mechanism. So your twist side to side, and then you're up and down. So everything's tight with plastic bushings to make that hold in place with a heavier microphone. And that's probably 100% okay, because this part doesn't need to move a whole lot. You're going to maybe set and forget, but you have so much free degrees of movement elsewhere that you can set this. So if I go all the way out to the point that it's off all of the cameras, this is advantageous, I would say, on this clamp. It's going to pull the clamp this way as I apply pressure, and all it's doing is flexing my table. Why don't I give you a view of this Pardon the shakes. So as I push down here on this cheap plastic table, all it seems to be doing is massively flexing the table. Now we're going to swap this all the way back here. Hopefully you can see all the way extended. And looking here, now we have a problem. This is starting to lift off of the table. I'll push down a bit and it rolls right off. So what's happening on the underside, I don't know if my USB cable is going to reach or if you'll be able to see. So the lip underneath my table is not wide enough. Like we're past the center pressure point of that bolt. So it's now clamping in such a way as to roll this off the table. But we also have to pay attention to the fact that that's not how you're going to use this. Why would you use it like that? So one solution is to loosen the screw, the clamp. I'm going to slide it back about a 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to retighten it. I'm going to give it a good, decent crank. And now we'll compare. So back out this way. You know, exceptional amount of pressure. What microphone's going to weigh that much? And we're fine as we were before. Now we slide this all the way back. And yeah, it's falling off again. So my desk is not the best suited for this. If I had a wider lip here, that would be completely fine. That would work well. Or alternatively, I can make a spacer to fill in this gap right above there. And that honestly would completely solve the problem, in my opinion. Still, we are on a plastic folding table, so it is not rigid. So this amount of compression that I'm applying here is obscene for what it's designed for. But looking at its use case, it is going to support weight out here. We had it stuck way back. Not how you're typically going to use it, but you know, potentially you maybe throw your mic out of the way. Maybe your desk is not wood, or it's softer for some reason, to where that clamp can't really pinch, or that lip is really thin. Those might be times to be concerned. And let's be real here. This is probably the same thing for any possible clamp. Obviously, my last clamp for the little chintzy one that I had just fell off under its own weight with like a shock mount on it. So that was absolutely no good, and there was no way it was going to work even out there. So this is already leagues above that. We were just putting it in an improper situation to kind of stress test it. Let's mount our shock mount here, which this is always fun. If you line everything up, you can just twist to make it all work. You have to install the appropriate hardware. We'll get this 1/4 inch adapter. So this goes down to 1/4 inch. Very cool. You can mount a camera, which I would do. So this monitor arm, I say monitor arm, it has like a monitor arm component on it. This is a microphone arm with a adjustable section. I'm going to put this clip on here. This quick release plate. Now we can stand that up. Okay. Now we can grab our overhead cam once again. Sorry for the shakes. And now we can throw this on there, clamp it on, and somewhat position that. And obviously it's not level. I would probably throw a ball head in here. I do have a ball head now on the overhead cam, so I can square it no matter where the boom is facing. But you could put a hefty camera on here. I don't know that it would support the whole Panasonic rig with everything on it. Maybe on a proper desk it could. This is really intriguing. I know you could do this with like the Rode PSA 1 and is it the Neo? They have different versions. I know you could do that with those arms if you had like a 3/8 ball joint. So I am curious, this arm being about $70, where it would come in and be useful as an overhead or even just a desk camera. Like this can be mounted, you saw earlier, you can go quite low. You could even flip the camera completely upside down. And let's say you're somebody that draws. Instead of setting up like a Gorilla Pod whole contraption or a full-on tripod with the center post flipped upside down, you could maybe use something like this, mount it inverted, put a ball head on it, and just go to town, like getting time lapses of your drawing and things like that. You can position it wherever. It's a possible solution. This is really fascinating. I was not expecting the quarter 20, and now I'm really excited that they did that, because it's not a loss of support, because it all gets tightened down. Like if you had all of those various interfacing adapters, like who cares? It's all going to work at the end of the day because it all gets threaded down and clamped down. So very interesting. That's this may not only replace my other boom arm upstairs, but it could potentially turn into multiple of these to use as rigging, because I have my mobile stand over here for like going across the room, but once you get somewhere, having a repositionable camera that it can also pack away very nicely, that's impressive. So another thing to consider, my mouse, the point of what I have set up upstairs is so that my hand can sit underneath the boom arm. It would come up and then over, and it has to reach fairly far. I have a fairly wide mouse mat, so I will try this out upstairs and we'll compare. I'm curious to see if I'm a little bit concerned that this lower portion may be a little bit too low. I don't know if they sell an extender that would still be robust enough to bump that height up, maybe 3 to 4 more inches to guarantee room for my hand to get underneath. Or maybe it's 100% not a problem and it's exactly the way it needs to be to get out of my view so I can actually see. Because right now I can see over the top. That's incredible. Okay, right back to where we were. We're going to install an intermediate screw. I've lined up this ball joint so everything spins on its axis. So it's nice and easy here. There we go. Just double check that's tight, and then now this can be loose. We can adjust as necessary, so you can point this down. You can have your microphone even to the side, upside down, right side up, all sorts of different directions. We can even point this up and have the mic up at the top, and then boom this down and have it come right underneath. That's impressive. That is genuinely impressive. Okay. So there's a lot of modularity with their kind of compound hinge system where it twists side to side. It fully inverts 180 degrees. And then your shock mount probably also has some means of adjusting as well. So let's throw on a microphone. I'm trying to see how you would adjust this 1/4-20. I don't know that you would, because it's a little bit finicky here. Like, I want to keep tightening it, and normally that gives, but it's really, really tight. I think it's solidly mounted. So you probably have to back your... You don't have to tighten all the way. You have to get close and then go ahead and use your actual stop to compensate in whatever position you may need. So let's call it straight off the front there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten this against, but I'm not in my final position. I want to end up here. So I'm going to actually loosen, tighten, and then pull this back straight, and that will bind everything just a little bit tighter. It doesn't seem like it gets crazy tight. Again, this is just holding a microphone. This is not, does not need to be crazy. And if you were to mount this with a camera, quick release plate, and put some hefty weight on there, I'm fairly sure you could really use some tools to get there. So this is my lovely RE20. This is from Electro Voice. I think I called it an RE2020 earlier when I Googled. I don't know why I did that. Probably the Audio Technica. This is a dynamic cardioid microphone out. It is out from the 70s. This has been around in broadcast audio for a long time. And with this mount, which is the larger size compared to the last one I purchased, I believe, that clamps perfectly. So the OD, outer diameter on the body is 49 here, 49 millimeters. It does taper a slight bit, so that's maybe something to be concerned with. You don't want to block the vents. The vents are important on this microphone. They do what they need. There's also this tiny switch on the body here. This is a low cut filter, and it's special to them. They do some wizardry there, supposedly. I am positioning this little nubbin to line up to this clamp in the gap. So I position it like that so that I don't hurt that little plastic piece. And then when I clamp this down, I'm going to like the ribbon that has the branding on it, and that's where I'm clamping this. So I'm only going that far because I don't want to cover the vents. And it works. It does work. It's not as firm as the other one that I have upstairs because I bought a larger size this time. The one that's upstairs, you really had to crank to get it squeezed on there. So this is not quite as firm, but honestly, this is still very acceptable. And we have a shock mount as well. So there's a lot of different positioning you can do here. There's some play, mostly with the tightening that I'm not a giant fan of. It seems like I'm having trouble just getting finger tight all the way here. Looking at the rubber textured grippy piece on the little stop plate, it seems to be breaking apart pretty easily. So maybe it's a little bit too soft. It seems to be rotating separate to the knurling on the outside as I really crank this down. But I got like almost full turn with some serious leverage there. And now it's solid. I don't like that it's like so soft of a rubber that it's like completely deforming. I would like to see a... Is that durometer for rubbers? Is that a higher durometer? But this is fantastic. That would absolutely stay out of my way for positioning the microphone. This is the pop filter that I like. This is from 512 Audio. Runs about $15. It is a metal mesh on the outside. Looks really nice. You can see through it. The positioning, I don't know what you call this, metal hose, does hold it in place really well. And the clamp is fairly sturdy. It's obviously none of it is like the highest end, but it does work. So my question now is, where the heck do we put this thing in a way that makes sense? So I'm kind of looking under here, or maybe even on the actual kind of a baby pin. That may work. The end of these have notches so that it can fit onto square tubing, like your Rode PS1, PSA1 arms, but it'll center up on round things too. That's impressive. Okay, that worked. It kind of slides around a bit, which doesn't appear to be a problem. It's not loose, it just moves. And then I can twist that around. That's just about the right length for what we need. Inch or so from the mic. You can position these pop filters where you need them, like distance, to set your distance for consistent audio, which is kind of nice. You know, okay, I'm talking, you know, very close to this. That's my distance, and that's kind of what I use upstairs to reference. So this is kind of cool. So the losing my words here. The pop filter that I have upstairs is mounted on one of the scissor portions, one of these, and those change because there's like is it a parallax effect or whatever going on here? So not that I would push the microphone way out of the way and then still expect to use a pop filter on it, but it moves away from the microphone. This, with how I have it set up right on this, I'm calling it a baby pin because that's all I can think of what it's called, but the little metal part that everything screws onto is fixed with everything else. So this is one whole unit now, and that explains why all these top parts are so stiff. Is it needs to be able to hold positions, and you can see some positions it is not as tight. It looks like you could maybe pop the cap off. I'm sure that you can pop the plastic cap, tighten that more as needed. There is also this, which tells you not to screw the other way, so that is probably your side to side, which I will loosen again. I don't think that needs to be just snug there. Doesn't do a whole lot, but there's a lot of kind of sloppy plastic bushings in there. As to be expected, it's a cheaper device. That's okay. But my microphone is being held by this RE shock mount. This is an RE20 from Electro Voice, and that is a like $15 shock mount instead of the, was it $165 one that we took a look at, among probably others that are incredibly expensive. So this will work. It remains to be seen if I use this upstairs, and if I do, I will probably end up getting a second one for down here, because this is working natively on this crappy desk. My Rode probably would not. I don't think the clamp is nearly big enough. So this is very exciting. Another thing to mention, your XLR cable will route from section to section. There are cable runners, cable clamps, two on these lower rotating arms, one long one on this top piston pneumatic arm. That is nice to see. That is very nice to see. So I'm very excited about this. This is going to let me basically quickly disconnect the RE20 from upstairs and just run down here with it and use it. There is no way in heck I'm going to buy a second one for just down here, but I do love the way it sounds, and I do want to compare it on this new channel strip that I'm going to test out. And the channel strip itself, if it's comparable to the DBX, it's going to make sense to replace some components upstairs because the power button especially is going to give me a little peace of mind. The monitoring out, I don't need a high-end DAC for that, or amp, I guess it would be in that case. Though I am looking at some headphones potentially, though those may need their own amp and DAC as well. So lots to think about, but I'm really excited to have been making all of this progress so far in this room. This is the most progress I have made in this room in over a year, and having you guys hang out with me in chat, potentially having some VODs edited at some point that might be of use to people. I can pull some sections out for videos. I have a video set up right here for anything desktop. This is incredibly motivating to me at the moment, and I'm really excited. My main thought is an hour spent in this room a day is so much more than I ever would have spent if I wasn't motivated to be in here and live streaming, talking with people, sharing some knowledge, filming different things that I'm getting to tweak the space, then all of the projects that I have planned for in here. All of that is so inspiring to me at the moment, and I am really excited to have anyone and everyone along on this journey. Thank you so much for watching on Twitch, on YouTube, live, and any future videos. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you gals and guys later. Have a good